Hello, beautiful souls, and hope everyone is doing well. Today, we are diving into a topic that hits close to home for so many of us: facing your fears. Let's be honest, fear is something we all experience, whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, or even fear of success. Fear is a universal feeling, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. Today, we will unpack what fear really is, why we feel it, and most importantly, how to turn it into a source of power rather than letting it hold us back. We will also explore some actionable steps you can take to face your fears and start living a more courageous and authentic life. So grab a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's tackle this together. Let's start with the basics. What is fear? Fear can feel like a heavy force that stops us from moving forward. It can hold us back from taking risks, speaking up, or trying new things. It makes us doubt ourselves and avoid opportunities that could help us grow. But if we look closer, we see that fear isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's actually something built into us to help us survive. A long time ago, our ancestors lived in a world filled with real dangers like wild animals or natural disasters. Fear was their brain's way of saying, "Watch out, there's a danger." It helped them decide quickly whether to fight, run, or hide. Without this fear response, they might not have survived. Today, most of us don't face life threatening situations like that anymore. We are not running from wild animals or dealing with disasters, but our brains still react to certain situations with fear, especially when we feel uncertain or vulnerable. That's why fear shows up when we are doing something that feels risky, like applying for a job we really want, sharing our feelings with someone, or working towards a big goal. These things don't actually put our lives at risk, but they challenge us in ways that feel uncomfortable. The problem is that our fears today are often bigger than the actual risks. They are more emotional or psychological than life threatening. But we often treat them like they are life or death, which can hold us back and make us avoid things that scare us. Whereas the truth is, fear isn't the problem, it's how we respond to it. Fear is just a signal that we are doing something new or meaningful. It is a sign that we are growing. While fear might feel uncomfortable, it doesn't have to control us. If we learn to listen to it without letting it stop us, it can actually help us grow and succeed. In the end, fear isn't bad. It is a sign that you're stepping outside your comfort zone and doing something important. The problem happens when we see fear as a reason to stop instead of seeing it as a reason to keep going. When we use fear as a guide, it can help us grow and achieve great things. Let's take a closer look at why we feel fear in the first place. While fear often seems like a natural response, it actually comes from different sources, like our past experiences, how society shapes us, and how we talk to ourselves. Understanding where fear comes from can help us see it for what it actually is: a protective tool that sometimes goes too far. Here are 3 common reasons for fear. Number 1, past experiences. Our past experiences shapes the way we view the world, including what we fear. If you have failed at something before, the memory can still make you afraid to try again. For example, if you gave a presentation that didn't go well, you might feel anxious the next time you have to speak in front of others. This reaction is your brain trying to protect you from going through the same pain. But the problem is, your brain can be too cautious. What happened before doesn't have to happen again, and fear is often based on assumptions, not facts. Number 2, societal conditioning. From a young age, we are taught to avoid making mistakes and to follow society's rule. We hear things like, don't mess up, play it safe, or don't stand out. Society tends to link failure with weakness, so we grow afraid of failing. This can stop us from taking risks or following our dreams, even though those risks could lead to growth. For example, we might avoid sharing a creative idea because we fear judgment or rejection. It is important to realize that these societal pressures aren't the truths. They are just cultural stories. Mistakes are part of learning and growing, not the end of the world. Number 3, our inner critic. We all have that little voice in our heads that doubts us. It might say things like, you are not good enough. What if you fail? Or who are you to try this? This voice is fear talking, trying to keep us in our comfort zone. But the comfort zone isn't where we grow. The inner critic makes our fears seem bigger than they really are. The truth is, this voice isn't our enemy. It's just scared. The key is not to ignore it, but to challenge its negative thoughts and keep moving forward. Now let's talk about the hidden costs of avoiding fear. It might seem like a good idea to play it safe, but avoiding fear can have a long-term consequences that can affect different areas of our lives. Number 1, emotional burnout. When fear controls our actions, we often ignore our true desires to stay in our comfort zone. Over time, this makes us feel frustrated, stuck, or even resentful. Imagine ignoring something you really care about because fear says it's too risky. This emotional conflict drains your energy and leaves you feeling disconnected from your true purpose. When we avoid fear, we trap ourselves in a cycle of what ifs and miss out on fulfilling opportunities. Number 2, loss of authenticity. When fear makes our decisions for us, we stop living authentically. Instead of doing what feels right for us, we focus on playing it safe or pleasing others. Over time, this can lead to a life that doesn't feel like ours, a life built on avoiding risks, not following our passions. This disconnect from our true selves can feel unsettling. One day, we might realize we have been living based on fear, not on what truly matters to us. Number 3, damaged relationships. Ironically, avoiding fear can hurt our relationships. Fear of conflict might keep us from having honest talks with those we care about, leaving problems unresolved. Fear of being vulnerable can make us distance ourselves from others, which leads to shallow connections. Healthy relationships require courage. The courage to speak your truth, to have difficult conversations, and to be real. When fear holds us back, we miss out on building trust and deeper bonds. Number 4, the physical toll. The stress of avoiding fear doesn't just stay in our minds, it affects our bodies too. Suppressing fear and avoiding discomfort can lead to chronic stress, which shows up physically as headaches, muscle tension, tiredness, digestive problems, and even long term health issues like high blood pressure. Our body pays the price for emotional stress, reminding us that fear, when ignored, not only blocks our path but wears us down. Now that we have understood why fear arises and the price we pay for avoiding it, let's shift our focus to solutions. Confronting fear doesn't mean diving into the deep end immediately. It's about adopting practical, manageable strategies that help you control your fears rather than letting them control you. Here are some actionable steps to start facing your fears and reclaiming your confidence, reclaiming your power. Number 1, acknowledge your fear. The first step in overcoming fear is to recognize and name it. Often, we instinctively avoid fear, pretending it's not there or pushing it aside. But denial doesn't make fear disappear, it amplifies it in the background. Instead, take a moment to identify exactly what you are afraid of. Is it fear of failure? Is it fear of rejection? Is it fear of embarrassment? Write it down or say it out loud. By naming your fear, you bring it into the light, where it becomes less abstract and more manageable. Remember, fear thrives on vagueness and avoidance. When you acknowledge it, you begin to take away its power. Number 2, breaking it down. Fear often feels overwhelming because we view it as one massive, insurmountable obstacle. The key to tackling fear is to break it into smaller, more digestible parts. Let's say you are afraid of public speaking. The idea of standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people might paralyze you. Instead of jumping straight to the biggest challenge, start with smaller steps. Speak up during a team meeting. Practice giving a short talk to a trusted friend or a family member. Gradually build your confidence in smaller settings before moving to a larger ones. By taking on manageable chunks, you reduce the intimidation factor and steadily build your skills. Number 3, reframe your perspective. Fear is often misunderstood as a signal to stop. But what if you viewed it as a signpost for growth instead? When fear arises, it usually means you are stepping outside your comfort zone and into a space where personal development happens. Start reframing fear as a guide rather than a roadblock. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Often the worst case scenario isn't as catastrophic as it feels in the moment. Then shift your focus. What's the best that could happen? This question reminds you of the potential rewards on the other side of fear. By changing how you perceive fear, you turn it from a barrier into a motivator. Number 4, take small, brave steps. Facing fear doesn't have to involve dramatic, life-altering actions. In fact, small, consistent steps are often more effective than big leaps. Think of it as building a muscle. Each small act of courage strengthens your ability to confront fear in the future. For example, if you're afraid of networking, start by introducing yourself to one new person at an event instead of forcing yourself to work in the entire room. With each small success, you will gain momentum and confidence, making bigger changes feel more attainable over time. Number 5. Lean on support. You don't have to face fear alone. Sharing your fears with someone you trust can provide comfort, perspective, and encouragement. Sometimes, simply saying your fears out loud to a friend, family member, or a mentor can bring clarity and help you see the situation more rationally. They might offer advice, a fresh perspective, or simply a reminder that you are not alone in your struggles. For more significant fears or patterns of avoidance, consider seeking guidance from a therapist or a coach. These professionals can help you develop tailored strategies and provide a safe space to explore the roots of your fear. Let me share a personal story about how I overcame fear. Job interviews used to terrify me. It wasn't because I didn't know my stuff. I was good at my job and knew my responsibilities well. But when it came to interviews, I would completely lose my confidence. My hands would shake, my voice would tremble, and I would struggle to answer even simple questions. It felt like fear took over, no matter how much I tried to prepare. But deep down, I knew I couldn't let fear stop me. If I wanted to move forward in my career, I had to face it. So I decided to take small steps to improve. I started by practicing in front of a mirror. At first, it felt strange and awkward, but I kept going. I imagined myself doing well in interviews, staying calm and confident. Little by little, this helped me feel more prepared. I also leaned on my friends for support. They were kind enough to help me with mock interviews, giving me honest feedback about what I could do better. Their encouragement made a big difference and gave me the confidence to keep trying. Even though I faced many rejections, I didn't give up. After each interview, I asked the recruiters for feedback. Their advice helped me understand what I needed to work on, and I got a little better each time. Finally, after lots of practice and persistence, I landed a job that was better than I had hoped for. It felt amazing to know that all the hard work had paid off. This experience taught me an important lesson. Fear doesn't have to hold you back. When you face it step by step, you get stronger and more confident. And in the end, pushing through fear can lead to incredible opportunities. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few simple yet powerful tools that you can start using today to face your fears. These strategies are practical, easy to implement, and can make a real difference in building your confidence and resilience over time. Let's dive in. Number 1. Journaling. Writing down your fears is one of the most effective ways to understand and confront them. Take a few minutes each day to reflect on what scares you and where those fears might come from. Are they tied to a specific experience, a pattern of thinking, or a worry about the future? Journaling helps you see your fears more clearly and allows you to process them in a safe, private space. By putting your thoughts on paper, you take the first step in untangling the hold fear has on you. Plus, over time, you can track your progress and see how far you have come. Number two, visualization. Visualization is a powerful mental tool. Instead of focusing on the what ifs of failure or fear, close your eyes and imagine yourself succeeding. Picture yourself overcoming the challenge that's been holding you back. For example, if you are afraid of public speaking, visualize yourself standing confidently in front of an audience, speaking clearly and receiving applause. Focus on the positive feelings that come with success, like pride, joy, and relief. Visualization helps rewire your brain to associate fear inducing situations with positive outcomes, making them feel less intimidating in real life. Number three, affirmations. Affirmations are short, positive statements that can help shift your mindset. Repeating affirmations like, I am stronger than my fear, or I am capable and confident, might feel strange at first, but over time, they help replace negative self talk with empowering thoughts. Write a few affirmations that resonate with you and repeat them daily, especially before facing a challenge. The more you affirm your strength and resilience, the more you will start to believe it. Number four, meditation. Fear often lies in the body as much as in the mind, like racing heart, shallow breathing, or tense muscles. Meditation, especially when combined with breath work, is a powerful way to calm both. Spend a few minutes each day focusing on your breath, taking slow, deep inhales and longer exhales. If you're feeling anxious before tackling something scary, pause and breathe deeply for a few moments. Meditation doesn't just help in the moment, it can also reduce your overall stress levels over time, giving you a greater sense of control when fear arises. Number five, accountability. Facing fear is easier when you have someone in your corner. Share your goals and fears with a trusted friend, family member, or mentor. Let them know what you are working on and how they can support you, whether it's through encouragement, feedback, or simply being there to listen. When you know someone is cheering you on or checking in with you, it's harder to back out or give up. Accountability partners can provide strength, perspective, and a reminder that you don't have to face fear alone. Alright, friends, that's a wrap up for today. Remember, fear isn't the enemy, it is a signal that you're stepping into something meaningful. The key is to take small, consistent steps to face it. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you liked it, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Feel free to share it with your friends who might need some encouragement. For more help and support, you can book a session on my website at www.sacredsoulradiance.com. You can also find me on social media. The links are in the description. Until next time, keep shining your light. Take care. Bye-bye.